Kids just out of college trying to make it out in the real world. Jim Everett played a little football at Purdue University, did pretty well. Landed a high-paying job right out of college with the Los Angeles Rams. Without much of a training program, he was thrown into the fray early, and now he's in his third year with the firm. Tonight, he has a business appointment with the Chicago Bears, always tough in negotiations, but even more so now as the Rams have lost 4 in a row and are struggling to make the playoffs. His boss has a pragmatic outlook.
We put ourselves in this. We were 7-2 and a chance for one of those magical years, and now some of that slipped away. And we're responsible for it, and we recognize that. But we also have to be intelligent enough to recognize that we get to play again. We're playing the best football team in the NFL, or one of the best, and it's a great challenge for us.
Jim Harbaugh was up at the University of Michigan. He did well in class and got involved in the football program. He did so well, in fact, the Chicago Bears made him their #1 draft choice a year ago. He began his career at a typical entry-level position, third-string quarterback. But strange things happen in the real world. The Bears have been winning all season, but along the way, first-string quarterback Jim McMahon has gone out with a knee injury. And last week, Mike Tomczak went down with a shoulder separation. So tonight, Jim Harbaugh will get his big chance to show what he's got as he starts at quarterback for the Chicago Bears.
Well, it's a tremendous opportunity. You know, you hate to see anybody go down, but you know, I've worked hard, and I just want to contribute to the team. And right now, all I can really think of is just being focused on the Rams and prepare and do what I have to do, you know, to help out the team.
The Chicago Bears, with the best record in the NFL, meet the Los Angeles Rams tonight on ABC's Monday Night Football.
ABC's Monday Night Football, brought to you by Buick and your Buick dealer. The great American road belongs to Buick. By Miller Genuine Draft, cold filtered for real draft taste. It's as real as it gets. By Goodyear, when it comes to tires and auto service, nobody fits you like Goodyear. And by United Airlines, rededicated to giving you the service you deserve. Come fly the friendly skies.
Anaheim Stadium in Anaheim, California on a beautiful Southern California night. A sellout crowd tonight for the Chicago Bears and the Los Angeles Rams. Two old NFL rivals with much on the line for both teams tonight. Hello again, everyone. I'm Frank Gifford. We're happy you're with us for this final game of Week 14 of the NFL season. And much is on the line for these two teams tonight. For the Los Angeles Rams, they are 7-6, and they know that if they lose tonight, they are all but mathematically eliminated from any possible playoff spot. They also know if they can win tonight and also win against Atlanta next week and then beat San Francisco in the final week, that they have a fairly good shot at even winning the divisional title. Meanwhile, for the Chicago Bears, they are 11-2 in the Central Division. The Minnesota Vikings, a very hot team, are 10-4. The Bears know that if they can win tonight, they'll stay 2 games ahead of Minnesota in that Central Division. If they can beat Detroit at home next Sunday, they can go to Minneapolis for December 19th, the Monday night game there, and look at that game kind of as a warm-up for the playoffs. An easy sort of a look-see. They will also have clinched the home field advantage for. So for both teams, there really is a lot on the line tonight. And Al, for the Bears, it might seem like a Windy City dream, but it could all begin here tonight because these Rams are struggling. They started off 7-2. They are now 7-6. They've lost 4 in a row. And last week against Denver, they just about self-destructed there.
Well, they went 0 for November, as it turned out, Frank, after they were talking about the playoffs and maybe the Super Bowl here through the month of October. So what's been the problem with the Rams after that great early start? A number of factors. It's really difficult to single out one facet. Jim Everett was having an all-pro season through the first 9 weeks. He's tapered off. The running game hasn't been nearly as proficient, but I think one of the big problems has been the defense, especially at the corners, where Gray and Irvin, 2 Pro Bowlers, are having their problems. The Rams, during this 4-game losing streak, have given up an average of 29 points a game. 2 weeks ago, they yielded 38 to San Diego. Last week, 35 to Denver. And you're not going to beat very many people when your defense is giving up 30 points a contest. Meanwhile, a curious thing here. You've got a team in a slump, the Rams, going against the best team in the league. And, Dan, the Rams are 3-point favorites. Now, do the odds makers feel that with Harbaugh starting and Dent gone, it will make that much difference?
Well, Al, that has to be part of the equation, but I have to assume the odds makers are looking at how badly the Los Angeles Rams need this game. Frank mentioned that if they do lose 7-7, mathematically they're alive, but for all intents and purposes, they have no chance. And, oh, when you have to win a game, wouldn't you know it has to be the Chicago Bears you have to beat. The Bears have an 11-2 record for one reason and one reason only, and that's the play of their defensive team. And it's kind of marvelous when you stop to think about it that gone are names like Fensick and Gale and William Perry, Richard Dent, Otis Wilson, and Wilbur Marshall. And I think the guy in the middle that we'll look at tonight, Mike Singletary, deserves an awful lot of credit. He may be the MVP in the National Football League because the Bears have allowed the fewest points.
And the Bears come into this game having allowed less than 12 points a game and coming off a shutout. John Robinson in his 6th season with the Rams, and Mike Ditka, as you all know, suffering a heart attack a month ago. Watched the Tampa Bay game on television from his hospital room, then went to Washington, resumed full-time coaching duties in the game at Tampa Bay, was on the sidelines last week, and here he is tonight in Anaheim as we conclude Week 14. Rams to receive, Kevin Butler to kick off, and we're underway from Anaheim. At the 6-yard line, this is Robert Del Pino, and the rookie out of Missouri brings it back to the 25-yard line. The Rams begin from there. Jim Everett, you'll recall, out of Purdue, drafted by the Oilers, refused to sign, finally dealt to the Rams in the middle of the '86 season, and has a chance to eclipse Vince Ferragamo's single-season passing mark tonight. Bell and McGee are the running backs. Ellard having a terrific season. Cox, the rookie out of Arizona State, and Johnson, the tight end. And that very fine Ram offensive line, Tom Newberry emerging as a superstar, as expected. From the 25-yard line, it's Bell running into traffic at the line of scrimmage, and he takes it to the 30-yard line. Greg Bell, who was a throw-in last year in the Dickerson trade, had a sensational rookie season at Buffalo and then tapered off. He's been injury-prone through his career, but on his way to 1,000 yards now. That's the Ram defensive line with the Bears out there right now. The Bears using the 4-3 with Singletary, of course, the middle linebacker. 2nd down and 6 at the 30-yard line. Bell again close to a first down. As he reaches the 36-yard line, he's tripped up by Al Harris, number 90. And after the spot, he has a first down. Now the Bears, as good a pair of tackles as you'll find in the league in McMichael and Hampton. Sean Smith is the man replacing Dent. And then the linebackers. Last year, Marshall and Wilson on the outside. This year, it's Rivera and Morrissey on the outside, but Singletary in the middle. Mike Richardson has been benched as a starter tonight. Lemuel Stinson, a rookie, gets the start at left corner from the 36-yard line. Everett, his first pass of the night is to Damone Johnson, the tight end, good for a gain of 6. And just to follow up on Richardson, he missed a practice yesterday. He missed a team meeting. He is in uniform. He will play tonight, but he won't start.
Wasn't all that severe, though, was it? Mike kind of smiled when he said it, and he said he had to do something about it. He said, well, if we get in a problem, we might slip him in there in the nickel. Well, there's Richardson on the sidelines, and not quite a Lou Holtz punishment against Mike Richardson for the infraction of missing a practice. I guess that's one of the big differences between college and pro football.
2nd and 4, Bell moving forward across the 45, tackled by Jim Morrissey, and short of the first down by about a yard at the 45-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 1, and this is where the Bears are very tough, and the Rams have been having their problems this season on 3rd and 1.
A classic matchup tonight of this very effective Ram running game against the Bears and their Rushing defense. The Bears incredibly only allowing 78 yards a game rushing. And I think we just have an excellent matchup tonight of strength on strength. The running offense and the running defense of these two teams.
3 tight ends in for the Rams. They send McGee in motion to pave the way for Bell, and he has the first down. Greg Bell out of bounds at about the 48-yard line. L.A. with its second consecutive first down.
For the last 8 years, since this guy was a rookie out of Baylor, he's been right there in the middle for the Bears. And I mentioned at the top of the show, this guy is clearly the glue that holds everything together for Chicago defensively. The finest middle linebacker in the game of football, Mike Singletary.
Charles White comes into the game. Bell getting the start. There is Singletary, the man in the middle, as the Rams operate on 1st and 10 from the 48-yard line, and the catch is made by Robert Del Pino. Del Pino listed as a fullback, but he'll line up all over. He'll play on special teams, and he has been a very pleasant 5th-round find for the Rams.
I think what we just saw, we are going to see a lot of tonight, and that is Jim Everett not getting the Rams in trouble. And they alluded to something, Coach John Robinson and Everett last night. They were talking about the way Miami beat the Bears in 1985. The only game they lost that season. They looked at the videotapes of it, and they saw what Dan Marino did. He took a 3-step drop and delivered the ball. He took a little rollout occasionally, but everything was short. It was conservative, just to avoid getting in trouble against his defense.
Everett, good numbers last week, but still in a losing cause, as Buford McGee's first carry of the night is good for about a yard to the 44, setting up 3rd down and 2. Hampton and Harrison on the tackle.
Boy, and that time Al Harris just blows inside Jackie Slater, the right tackle, and that's one of the good matchups we're going to be watching tonight. This guy, Al Harris, who, along with Steve McMichael and Dan Hampton, with the loss of Richard Dent, who might have been having his very best year, as these Bears have done all year, they're just going to have to pick up the slack. Al Harris, of course, a former linebacker. He has a lot of speed. He has the size for a defensive lineman, but he can really move, and you saw it as he busted inside of Slater a moment ago.
This time on 3rd and 2, they go with 4 wide receivers. The quick pass to the 39 is caught by Pete Holohan for a first down. And it's interesting, on 3rd and 1, they lined up with 3 tight ends and ran it for a first. On 3rd and 2, 4 receivers and throw it for the first down, varying the offense.
Again, it was 1, 2, 3, set, fire the ball. And again, the frustration of the defense will finally set in if you can keep this working, as Miami did back in 1985. They won that game 38-24, and by the middle of the 3rd quarter, the Bears' defensive line was exhausted. And get used to seeing number 81 involved anytime there's a pressure reception needed by the Rams. Pete Holohan's going to be the guy they're going to look to, and Jim Everett, caught in a compromising position offensively, he has to take a timeout.
And the Rams, on the move after 3 successive first downs, have to take a timeout early in the 1st quarter. Might be activated next week. They're home against Detroit. But for the moment tonight, it will be Harbaugh starting and backed up by Ben Bennett. First things first, though, Rams have the ball, as they've had since the opening kickoff. Bell to the outside, and gets wrapped up by Singletary. Mike Singletary had him by the ankle, and he downs him back at the 43-yard line.
And you talk about play anticipation. Watch Mike Singletary even start to move before the snap of the football. Just works to the outside. Irv Pankey really has no chance at all of trying to keep Mike out of the backfield. And the one thing John Robinson told us last night, Frank, is we have to avoid negative yardage. And they got it right here. What a quick read. He asked me if he liked Monday Night Football. He said, yeah, I get a chance to look at more films during the day.
2nd and 14. They bring Charles White in, and Robinson said he'd use White tonight on 2nd down in passing situations. And this is one of those, but blitzing through comes McMichael. Steve McMichael. I use the term blitzing. He's not a linebacker, of course, but when you see somebody coming like that and getting that free, you think initially it's a linebacker. It's the defensive tackle, McMichael.
Well, it's clearly a case. Watch Steve McMichael loop to the outside here. The blitz is coming up the middle, and the Rams are going to turn him loose. They're not even going to attempt to block McMichael. It's a case where they just have to turn someone loose, and I think they expected McMichael to take a much bigger looping charge to the outside. Instead, he fools him and goes straight to the quarterback. And Jim Everett last night told us that they were at times going to turn the defensive tackles loose. Vince Tobin right there, the defensive coordinator, He took over for Buddy Ryan, and you can't knock the result.
3rd and 22. Everett rolling, had time for the moment. Receivers are covered, and down he goes again. Dan Hampton, after McMichael picked up sack number 10.5. Hampton picks up sack number 8.5.
And how many times we have seen it? Rams with a good drive going, used about 5 minutes. First down inside the 40-yard line. 2 consecutive sacks. They're punting from their own territory.
Boy, talk about negative yardage. The Bears can add it on in a hurry. A good-looking drive by the Rams to get started disintegrates in a hurry.
They called a timeout, and that was that. On 4th and 33, Hatcher's punt, a wobbly kick. And it rolls dead at the 26-yard line. So here comes Harbaugh to lead the Bears with 8:33 to go in a scoreless first quarter. It's Jim Harbaugh, the surprise #1 pick last year out of the University of Michigan. Everybody was shocked when the Bears went for Harbaugh, who thought he'd be picked in the 2nd round by Green Bay. Neil Anderson closing in on 1,000 yards with Suey in the backfield, McKinnon and Gentry of the wideouts, Thornton the rookie tight end, and the very prominent offensive front. From the 26-yard line, Harbaugh right to the air, but he throws it behind Dennis Gentry. So if you thought Chicago was going to come out very conservative, forget it. Ditka said last night, in fact, he's added to the offense with Harbaugh in there. Defensively for the Rams, and this is where they've had the big problems over the last month. A functional front three, Reed, Wright, and Miller. None of the names really stand out. As far as their linebackers are concerned, Owens is on injured reserve, and Giroux is inactive tonight. We talked about Gray and Irvin both playing very spotty football at the corners. And Johnson and Stewart are the safeties. Neil Anderson threads his way to the 31-yard line for a gain of 5. It'll be 2nd, 3rd and 5 with Larry Kelm and Kevin Green in on the stop. And there's Anderson, who is 87 yards away from the 1,000-yard mark.
Great game last week against Green Bay, 139 yards, and can easily reach that 1,000-yard marker. Had an 80-yard touchdown run last week. It was sensational. I'm sure most of you saw it. Great replacement for Walter Payton, who, by the way, is here tonight and on the Bears bench.
Shotgun, 3rd and 5 from the 31-yard line. McKinnon in motion. Bad snap, knocked down and picked up by Harbaugh, who buys time, stays in bounds, and then throws it out of bounds finally, and a penalty marker is down well away from the play at the 42-yard line on the other side of the field. Fred Strickland, number 53, forced him to the sidelines. Referee tonight is Fred Silva, and the call is a defensive holding call against the Rams.
We saw a look there at one of the things the Los Angeles Rams are going to try to do tonight.
Holding defense, number 25. 5 yards, first down.
That's Jerry Gray, the left cornerback, that gets flagged for the holding. But one of the things the Rams are going to try to do up front to pressure Jim Harbaugh is come at them with more speed. Right here inside is Gary Jeter, the only defensive lineman in the game. We have 3 linebackers in here. We've got Strickland, Fairnays, and Wiltshire, and that's one of the things the Rams are trying to do tonight. Get more quickness, get more contain, and we saw how it worked that time in penning Harbaugh in and forcing him to the sideline.
Rams shifting on defense to try to confuse Chicago as Anderson takes it up to the 38-yard line. He is stopped by the outside backer, number 54, Mike Wiltshire, after a gain of 2.
What an evolution we have watched the Rams defense go into this past year. So many years they were strictly a 3-4, played their zone defense, but John Robinson truly believes that you have to show a lot of different looks. Now, the Rams did it early in the season, and you can see in the first 6 games, they fooled everybody. They picked up 36 sacks in the last 7 games. That as always happens, then they catch up with it.
And that's why they've gone with those linebackers tonight, Frank, to try to get some more quickness. They felt they weren't getting off blocks at the line of scrimmage.
Again, the Rams shifting on defense on 3rd and 8. A quick out to McKinnon, and he's tackled at the 42-yard line. He is brought down by Leroy Irvin.
Dennis McKinnon this time, the man in motion coming across the formation. I think it's a look at how the Rams traditionally over the years are always willing to give you that reception. They're going to sit back in their zone. They'll let you work underneath, and even though McKinnon made the catch, he still was well short of the marker, leaving the Bears a third and a couple of yards to go, 3rd and 3.
At the 43-yard line, 6:15 to play. First quarter, no score in Anaheim. And again out of the shotgun. Gentry in motion. The fake to Anderson, and Harbaugh is going to keep it. Has the first down at the 50-yard line.
Harbaugh, of course, had the option to throw that ball. He also had probably a personal option, knowing he only had the 3 yards to pick up. He knew right where the first down was. Put the head down, barreled for the first down.
Michigan quarterbacks have to know how to run, right, Dan?
They do. They certainly have not had traditionally over the last century a lot of experience throwing the football, I guess,
to say the least.
Yeah, we've got some pretty good numbers to throw at you about how many Michigan quarterbacks have really enjoyed long and fruitful careers in the National Football League. I can't do it, though. One of these guys will have to do it after this play.
You don't need too many fingers.
I don't want to do it.
From the 50-yard line. Harbaugh going deep for Gentry, who's paired up with Irvin, and Irvin knocks it away. Leroy Irvin does the job defensively on the bomb intended for Gentry.
A good play by both Gentry and Irvin. Irvin, a former all-pro cornerback, maybe not playing that Pro Bowl type of cornerback this year, but he looks at Gentry, sees the eyes, look at the ball, turns around, plays it. But Gentry is right there to make sure there is no interception. And Gentry, by the way, only goes 5'8", but he makes a lot of things happen on the football field.
You see Irvin with that left hand just reaching out and touching Gentry all the way down the field, making sure that he's got the contact while he's turned around playing the ball. Good play.
I like it, though. Not a bad call. Early in the game, you let Harbaugh go deep on it and make those cornerbacks be a little loosey-goosey out there.
Meanwhile, the Rams have had to take a timeout on defense. A timeout with 5:13 to play in a scoreless first period in Anaheim.
IBM presents You Make the Call. Dan Fouts of the Chargers.
Anaheim Stadium, the Rams just used a timeout because they had only 10 men on the field, so they've already used 2 of their allotted 3. It's 2nd and 10 Chicago at the 50, no score midway through the first quarter. Pressure on Harbaugh, who throws off balance and incomplete, intended for Cap Boso, the tight end, and broken up by Michael Stewart. 3rd and 10 now.
And any defensive coordinator worth his salt will tell you the way you pressure a young quarterback is right up the middle. And that's what the Rams do that time, as they bring both of their inside linebackers at Jim Harbaugh. That's Carl Eckern forcing him out and forcing a very chancy throw. A very chancy throw, trying to get it to Cap Boso, but good defensive play that time by the Rams, and I think Jim Harbaugh tonight is going to see a lot of pressure up the middle.
And he could see it again if he's left in a passing situation. Rams will try to show all kinds of fronts tonight, and you're right, Dan, they'll just put pressure on from every point on the field.
Here they are again, Jeter, the only lineman in the game.
They rush 5 on 3rd and 10 from the shotgun, and Harbaugh escapes and with some nifty running comes close to a first down, but I think he's just short. They'll spot it at the 41. He's tackled by Brett Farinez, and as you can see on the far side, he's short by less than a yard.
Again, the pressure up the middle, but nobody counted. Here comes the blitz from this side. Again, watch all the pressure up the middle coming right at Jim Harbaugh. But, boy, this is nothing but pure athleticism here on the part of Harbaugh. A straight shot coming at him, and somehow he gets it close enough to make it exciting.
I like it. They're going to go for it, too.
It's kind of backfiring for the Rams. Their quickness lineup isn't getting to the quarterback.
4th and a short yard from the 41-yard line, and Harbaugh burrows his way for a first down to the 39. Jim Harbaugh matched up with Everett again. The last time these two faced each other, 1985, Purdue against Michigan, and it was the Wolverines 47 and the Boilermakers nothing.
Harbaugh in that game had the measles. Was that it? Chicken pox.
That was when he was drafted. Everett had his elbow drained. Yeah. He was telling us last night.
And all kinds of medical reports floating around.
Hey, one of you two guys has to get to that story about Michigan quarterback.
Don't you worry about that.
We're warming up. Don't worry.
Well,
getting the graphics ready.
I brought it up. I just don't want to finish it.
From the 38-yard line, Harbaugh gets sacked back at the 44. So the Rams keep putting the pressure on, and this time it pays off as Jeter and Wiltshire converge, and Kevin Green is there as well.
Another different front, though, for the Bears to look at, and again, it was effective. Robinson is a real believer that the game is changing. It's leaving the 3-4.
Watch Wiltshire there at the bottom. He gets in, and rather than crash to the middle, contains Harbaugh so that when he comes his direction, he forces him right back into Gary Jeter on the inside. A good look that time at a defensive team honoring their lanes, staying in their position, playing their position, and waiting for the man to come to them.
2nd and 16 from the 43-yard line. With Boso in motion, Anderson loses the football. It's loose, and the Rams have it at the 43-yard line. Doug Reed recovers. He dislodged the football, and it's Eckern who comes up with it for Los Angeles.
Rams come again, and the Bears' offensive line are really a little bit confused as to what's going on.
Well, you can see they're attempting to run the trap up the middle with Tom Thayer, but Doug Reed just right in there, right on top of Anderson.
Kevin Green was looking for 6 points and overran it.
There's a question, I don't know, it looks like he's very close to being down when he loses that football. Is there a way we can look at that again, guys?
They're reviewing it, too. The officials have that posture right now. The replay official, and tonight it is Royal Cathcart, is looking at this play.
Let's check it from this angle. The inside handoff. Now, there's the tackle from Reed. Well, he's down. The football doesn't come out until Anderson's on the ground. I think that's going to remain Bears football.
They'll probably reverse that, even though the defensive unit is already on the field for the Bears. You can see it a little better right here, I believe.
He's still got the ball. Clearly, he has it in his control there. He's going down. Oh, that's...
Yep. And then Reed is able to get it loose after an 11-yard loss, and Royal Cathcart examines the replay.
Now the question is going to be what they're trying to figure out. We saw Anderson go onto his back. Now the ball was down there in his crotch. The question is, did he control it? Because remember now, the call went in the favor of the Rams. We're having to look for evidence conclusive enough to overturn the call on the field. And as you guys know, that takes more than just a casual look.
Again, that's almost too far away to tell from that point. But it does look as though the ball came free when he hit on his backside.
I thought he was down.
I agree. I thought he was down there as well. It's really touchy, though, as to whether he had what you want to call control of the football.
Again, it must be conclusive, and that can really split hairs for you.
We may get a good look at it here on the reverse because Anderson's going to spin right at us as he goes down. There we go. Oh, you got to say that remains the Chicago Bears football.
Great play by Reed, not only making the tackle, but having the presence of mind to reach in for the ball and try to pry it loose in one motion.
Yeah, you see Fred Silva, the referee, kind of nodding his head. I know this is an uncomfortable situation for the officials, but I think this is going to be overruled and the ball is going to be given back to the Bears. The reverse angle is really the best look we had at it, guys.
Well, there we go again. And it seems like over the past few weeks we've had so many long delays, and the Rams will keep possession. They do not reverse it.
And look at John Robinson. You talk about the fox that just ate the chicken.
Again, the buzzword, conclusive. It has to be dramatically, I guess, conclusive in this case.
Whoa.
Yeah. Checking Kiev at the 43-yard line, 1st and 10.
Whoa.
For the Rams. Buford McGee is the fullback. Straight ahead to the 40-yard line. And from the replay booth, they are saying they did not have conclusive evidence and they did not see the ball the entire way, is the report from Royal Cathcart in the replay officials booth.
Okay.
All right.
Credit the Rams defense. They have been showing a lot of looks tonight, is what John Robinson, that's the direction he is going. Very unusual for him, but it was very effective against the Bears.
2nd and 6. Everett caught at the 29-yard line by Aaron Cox, the rookie from Arizona State, who's ridden out of bounds by Bestie Jackson. 1st down.
And what a sharp adjustment by Aaron Cox, who read the blitz. The Bears from the other side of the field blitz Dave Duerson. Cox knows whatever route he's going to run, he has to shorten it up. In this particular offense, his move versus the blitz was to break to the sidelines, and an excellent example there of a quarterback in sync with a wide receiver. And what makes it all the more impressive is that the rookie wide receiver, Aaron Cox.
Everett is 4 for 4. Rolling right, he's 5 for 5. Hits Holohan, a first down, and out of bounds he goes at the 15-yard line. Bumped out by Singletary. They love to go to the tight end Holohan, and we talked about Damone Johnson as well. We call him a tight end. That's the position he's officially listed at, but oft times, as he did there, he lines up split.
But the offensive coordinator now for the Rams, Ernie Zampese, was with Holohan with the San Diego Chargers, where he caught over 170 passes in 7 years down there. But again, that time a little roll, it helped Everett get away from the Bears defense. We've been watching it thus far through the entire first quarter. The quick drop, the quick release, or the little roll. Very conservative and very effective.
Dick Curry, Ernie Zampese, Rams coaches upstairs at the 15-yard line, 1st and 10. 2:20 to play in the first quarter. Buford McGee finds a hole inside for 5. And at the 10-yard line, it'll be 2nd and 5. No score. First quarter, week 14, concluding in Anaheim.
And like Holohan coming from the San Diego Chargers, so did Buford McGee. And Zampese, knowing what these players could do, they did it for him there. And now they're doing it for the Rams.
Check out Jim Everett's stance, guys, the way he's really cocking himself, a la Dan Marino, taking the snap from center. He's really pivoting out of there. Look at his left leg back. He's going to open up to his left side and lets everybody know about it.
Like Bernie Kosar, as Greg Bell takes it down to the 8-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 3.
What's really deceiving, though, is that from our angle, we can see how his feet are cocked like that. But if you look at his shoulders are still squared off. So if you're a defensive player, you're just seeing him from the waist up. There's no way that you can tell that his feet are cocked that way. And I guess until we go to radios in the helmets, it's going to be difficult for a defensive lineman or linebacker to determine he's really open that way.
Could be a pretty good read on it, because with that foot way in there, it'd be very hard to have a guard pull on it.
3rd and 3 from the 7. And Everett, who lands on his back as he releases, throws it out of bounds. He was hit by Dave Duerson on a safety blitz.
That's what John Robinson, I know, would want him to do. When he couldn't find the open man, and it appeared to be Holohan, get rid of it. Don't hurt us. Keep us in field goal range, good field goal range, and that's exactly what he did. Watch Holohan again off the line of scrimmage and works in the end zone. Now he works across. Might have been there, but he was running into traffic out the top of the screen in the form of Bessie Jackson.
Mike Lansford, a 25-yard field goal attempt. Holohan holding and spotted at the 15. And Lansford's kick is good. Lansford, you'll recall, against Denver last week, hit one off the right upright, one off the left upright. He's perfect from 25 here. 51 seconds to play, first quarter. Rams on top of the Bears, 3-0. Picture right there is the backup quarterback, and he and Walter Payton having a laugh. Bennett's had a lot of laughs this week. The Arena Football League MVP.
And, of course, he wouldn't be on the Bears roster if Walter Payton was still active, because he was always the backup quarterback, the 3rd quarterback for the Bears.
Lansford's kick goes out of bounds. And so Chicago can take the ball at the 35-yard line with 45 seconds to play in the first quarter. And the Rams, in a game vital for their playoff hopes, on top 3-0.
And here comes the only University of Michigan quarterback that has ever taken a snap in the NFL. Is that correct, or ever thrown a pass?
Well, he's not. Larry Sippa played. Let's do this little promo here, and then we'll get into this, because this might take a while.
Well, there it is, prime time tomorrow night. Who's the Boss? Roseanne Moonlighting and 30-something.
And I'm bailing out of this. You guys are going to have to do this on your own.
Well, there's one way to sum this up, and we'll do it in a second. At the 35-yard line, 1st and 10. This is Anderson. for a gain of 2. Let's put it this way. Since 1952, there have been 15,590 touchdown passes in the NFL, one from a Michigan quarterback, Larry Sippa, who played with New Orleans in 1975.
That, of course, a Michigan T-formation quarterback. Great names, Benny Friedman, Chuck Ortman, but they didn't operate from the T-formation.
And there have been a lot of outstanding quarterbacks at Michigan, just none of them have really gone on to stellar careers in the NFL. People like Rick Leach, Bob Timberlake, Don Moorhead, a lot of them can play, they just didn't play in the NFL.
Seconds and 8. And Harbaugh goes down in the grasp of Fred Strickland, the rookie out of Purdue.
That's just excellent coverage downfield. Plenty of time for Harbaugh to get rid of the football. He has plenty of protection, just good coverage downfield, and he has to take the sack.
First quarter is over. Rams lead 3-0 back in Anaheim after this message and a word from your local station. We start the second quarter. Chicago with the ball. 3rd and 12 from the 33-yard line. And Harbaugh dumps it for Anderson. And Anderson scoots out to the 42, but he's well short of the first down. He is stopped by Gary Jeter, and the Bears will punt for the first time tonight. And Brian Wagner, who averaged 52 yards a kick last week against Green Bay, comes in to do the punting.
That's nothing but excellent hustle by Gary Jeter. That time the Rams drop back in their deep zone, only bring a conventional 4-man rush. And that's the other thing you want to do against a young quarterback. Vary your schemes. Give him a different look every time.
Clifford Hicks is the Ram punt returner. He stands at his own 20. They've relieved Henry Ellard of those duties. Line drive catch. And Hicks with a chance for a good run back, but slips at the 32-yard line. Hicks can only run it back 6 before he goes down. Clark gets credit for the tackle. Rams have the ball.
With its 20
championship, they wound up going 2-10 in the old 12-game format. Rams on first down from the 32-yard line. Holohan for a gain of about 6, and it was Frank Gifford's Giants, in fact, that started the 59 Rams on their road to oblivion with a 23-21 Saturday night opening night win at the Coliseum.
Well, as people always said, we probably would have been 1-11. We had to make the trade.
But a sensational career for Ollie Matson out of the University of San Francisco.
Great sprinter. Went to the Olympics.
Jim Everett. That's an interesting number right there in his last 21 games. It's interesting because the Bears are particularly proficient against high percentage passers. Greg Bell is stopped for no gain. In fact, this season, the Bears as a unit, we've talked about how terrific they've been overall defensively, but the opposition has completed only 44% of its passes against Chicago. And that's the lowest in the league.
And that is because of one thing only, pressure. The front four, which is the heart and soul of this football team, gets in the quarterback's face.
And the best of them, of course, we've talked about it earlier, Richard Dent out, perhaps even all the way through the playoffs with the broken leg, the broken fibula. It'll be interesting to see how much they're going to miss him.
On 3rd and 6. Again, Everett gets rid of it in a hurry, intended for Holohan. Crowd wants a flag. Holohan looks around. He doesn't see a flag. No flag. 4th down.
Blitz was on. Everyone locked up.
Yeah. Dale Hatcher, who underwent arthroscopic surgery on his left knee, his planting knee, and missed the first half of the season. Takes a good snap and gets away a very good kick. Dennis McKinnon calls for the fair catch at the 20-yard line and holds on there after a 43-yard punt. 13:07 to go in the first half. 3-0 LA.
Exactly run to the bank with that.
And with 9:57 to play.
Two scoops, 2 scoops. You know what I wish, Stella? I wish Kellogg's would stop making Raisin Bran just for a day.
I know.
Field goal. And with 9:57 to play in the first half, Mike Ditka's Chicago Bears trail the Rams 6-0. Lansford to kick off. Thomas Sanders and Dennis Gentry are back to receive for Chicago. At the 8-yard line, Sanders is taken down at the 21-yard line. Tackle made by Clifford Hicks. And Larry Kilm also helping out.
I don't know what's tougher, being a defensive player, running all the way down the field and getting a hit on somebody, or then getting up after the play and having your teammates pummel you.
It's getting dangerous, particularly when you score.
Look how hard these guys hit each other.
They maul each other.
Kelm gets up there and takes about 4 shots to the chop.
And it wasn't that good.
He's got to be seeing stars.
First and 10, Chicago from the 25-yard line. Sanders and Muster are the running backs, and here's Sanders up to the 25-yard line. He is stopped by Carl Eckern. Sanders played a big role the last time these two teams faced each other on a Monday night 2 years ago in Chicago. Good game as the Rams won it 20-17 on a field goal by Lansford with 4 seconds to play.
And I think the Rams here are tipping their hands. 8 men that time up within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. It's the same old story. They're going to force Harbaugh to beat him in the air. And as you can see, only 4 passing yards there for the Bears.
And only 90 yards total offense for the two teams in the game so far. Big hole for Sanders, who exploits it and has a first down moving to the 36-yard line, and the block was laid by Jim Colbert to spring him.
Well, that's what happens when you get everybody up there. That time they had 7 up there. They were in man-to-man defense, and they are just relying on the overwhelming number of men power to stop the play. And once you get through it, you're going to pop for a big one. Here it is again. Sanders working to the left, straight zone blocking, nobody pulling. Bort's out in front of it, huge opening. And when you would think with the men deployed to the line of scrimmage, you wouldn't get that opening.
Sanders, his 3rd consecutive carry, takes it to the 38-yard line for a pickup of 2. 2nd and 8.
Bears last week ran off 80 plays against the Green Bay Packers. They love to dominate. They love to do that by running.
There's a good trivia question. Who would have thought that A&M would lead any university in the number of running backs here in the NFL currently?
Won a few bets. 2nd down and 8.
Frank, it's not Southern Cal either. What a shock.
I'm still thinking.
On 2nd and 8, it's lofted for Muster. And a first down.
Oh, there goes a flag.
46 and a flag.
That's a late hit by a mile.
And confusion in that Ram defense, too. Muster out of the backfield, nobody picking him up. And you get a lot of that when you start showing those multiple fronts, using a lot of blitzes. You'll make mistakes, and they're very expensive. Johnny Johnson coming out there gets his hand on the helmet.
Here comes the late hit, though. Watch the left of your screen.
Call it either way, though.
62. Offense. Holding. 23. Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness. Offset. Replay. Still 2nd down.
Well, that time Mark Bortz for the Bears gets called for the hold, and Michael Stewart gets the late hit on the sidelines, and that's going to offset everything. And boy, that would have been a huge gain for the Bears if you take the reception that time by Muster and then tack on another 15.
Would have been 17 plus the penalty. Instead, back it comes to the 38. Play it again on 2nd down and 8 from the 38. 6-0 Rams, 7:48 to play, first half. Ron Morris in motion. And Harbaugh steps up, hits Muster, and he gets to the 44-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and a short 3. Carl Eckern, the linebacker, and Fred Strickland converge on the tackle.
If Jim Harbaugh can continue when he gets in trouble to step up and rather than force the ball way downfield, do what he did there, just take that short dump off, I think he's going to be better off. But he has taken some punishment early on in this ball game.
He's big and he's strong. He's very very sure of himself. We had a long talk with him last night. He kept his concentration there. He knew that he was going to get hit by Kevin Green, but he kept looking downfield, got the completion.
Third and about 2.5 from just outside the 44. And Harbaugh to the air, protected well, and he lost it for Sanders, but out of bounds. He had good touch on the earlier pass to Muster, but this one was thrown out of bounds.
And that's Kevin Green, the man we saw last time blitz and get in and drive Jim Harbaugh into the ground. That time it's Green back with the coverage. And the Rams right now appear to be playing their game plan the way they want it defensively. Varying their looks. One time a linebacker comes on the blitz. The next time you look for him on the blitz, he's back in coverage.
High snap. Wagner comes down with it and gets the kick away. Hicks fields at the 15. Chased by Boso, eludes him, but not two others, including Mickey Pruitt and John Shannon. A 40-yard kick and a 1-yard run back. 6:44 to go in the half. It's still 6-0 Rams. 6-0 over the Bears.
There's Duerson right up in the line again.
From the 13-yard line. This drive begins with Bell wrapped up by Singletary. A 4-yard loss.
What a remarkable man. Not only the leader spiritually, but he knows what's happening out there at all the time. Look at these eyes. They're total focus. And right behind the pulling guard and right in the face of Bell.
Mike is able to make those plays to the outside because of the fact that Duerson is right up in the middle. They almost have Duerson at times playing middle linebacker and Singletary playing the plays more to the outside. There's Duerson up there again. Good look at it. 22.
On 2nd and 14, the pump, and then Everett goes deep, but great coverage and nearly picked off. Intended for Willie Anderson, but Maurice Douglas was back there, and Anderson had no shot at it.
The Rams almost hope that Douglas catches that and they could down him. That's better than any punt they could have gotten out of there if they don't pick up a first down.
There's the double coverage. Bestie Jackson, and coming over, Maurice Douglas, who should have had it.
Sensational effort, though, by Douglas. Look at him lay out for that ball. Gets both hands on it, and that would have been a sensational catch, Frank.
You know, you hate to talk about it, but had he kept those hands down for a moment, used them like a sprinter, he would have been under that ball a lot further.
3rd and 14. And Charles White has to get to the 24-yard line, but he comes up about 2 yards shy. So the Rams, and that's something they've done for years, on 3rd and long, they'll keep it on the ground, trying to fool the defense that way, and they fooled them, but not to the extent that they had to, and they'll have to kick.
They came close, though. I think everybody in a white jersey down there kind of had a lump in their throat because Charles White came within a yard, even less than a yard. I mean, he's very close to it, having picked up that first down.
The Rams to kick, and Hatcher nearly had it blocked, and a flag goes down as the kick goes out of bounds at the 45-yard line. There's a flag down at the line of scrimmage.
Keep in mind, any sort of a 5-yard penalty against Chicago, if they line up in the neutral zone or anything like that, will be good for a first down. But no, it's going to be an eligible man downfield. And I would have to assume that Chicago's going to decline this.
What's Silva doing talking to Eckhart? I was just going to say.
Maybe he was saying, if you were a Bear, what would you do here?
Help me out here.
He's saying, we'll take it.
Yeah.
5 yards, that's nice. Thank you.
32, kicking team. Downfield, decline.
Yeah,
first down.
I'm sure Eckhart was saying, oh, yeah, we'll kick it again. No problem.
Yeah.
Bears at the 45-yard line. 1st and 10. So Chicago starting near midfield. Harbaugh trying to get it going in his first NFL start. McKinnon in motion. And on a sweep, it's Neil Anderson. And he can't turn the corner. Stopped at the line of scrimmage. Again, the significance of this game, The Rams are everything but mathematically dead for a playoff spot if they lose. The Bears, well, they're already in the playoffs, but they want to avoid having to play Minnesota for the Central Division title in that last game, and they can take a big step toward avoiding that with a victory here tonight.
And we saw Jim McMahon on the sideline, and I wouldn't be surprised if next week is the week that he comes back. They'd like to get him some experience before that Minnesota ball game. Before having to go to the Metrodome, they don't want that to be the first shot that Jim McMahon gets.
Not against that defense.
2nd and 10. And they run a reverse. McKinnon to the outside into Rams territory. And with some great open field movement, takes it to the 43-yard line. Stopped by Eckern.
That's why he's such a good punt return man, because that basically was turned into a picket line for him. And McKinnon, who is one of the best in the league at returning punts, got behind the picket line, turned it into a big gainer when most people would have been stopped behind the line of scrimmage.
Really, this is defense beautifully by the Rams. Watch the Rams get upfield, seal this play off. McKinnon is going to work his way all the way back inside, and this is really a dead play. Look how well the Rams have this defense. Right there, McKinnon has nowhere to go, and somehow he gets outside. Keith Van Horn delivers a block, and he makes something out of nothing.
And a whistle before the inception of the play. It's not delay. It's illegal procedure. After a 13-yard pickup.
Number 62. Ball start.
Mark Bortz.
5 yards. No first down.
Left guard.
Again, I go back to that reverse by McKinnon. We all saw that play, and when we saw it unfold, I'm looking at a 6 or 7 yard loss to the Bears, and instead McKinnon, and with that block from Van Horn, really makes something out of it.
And he helped set up that block, dipped inside, then broke out. Van Horn had looped out, fan back. Good move by both of them.
1st and 15. Rams on top 6-0. 3:20 to play in the half. Chicago at the LA 47. Harbaugh hits Anderson. He's out of bounds at the 38-yard line. A run out of bounds by Jerry Gray, and they were about 7 yards shy of a first down. Make it 6.
Neil Anderson, the Chicago Bears Travelers Man of the Year for not only his play on the field, and he came in tonight as the second leading receiver for the Bears, and the Travelers Man for the Year in the NFL. Each team has a representative, will be announced at the Super Bowl, and it was Dave Duerson a year ago who was the Travelers Man of the Year from the Chicago Bears. Not what you do in the football field, you have to do that well, but what you do off.
2nd down and 6 from the 38-yard line. McKinnon in motion. Toss to Anderson. First down, takes it to the 30-yard line, and the way was led by Matt Suey in his 9th year. And how many times has he led the way for Bear running backs? Most often, of course, Walter Payton.
A lot of versatility with all these Bear backs. You bring in Sanders, he's a good receiver. Matt Suey, a fine blocker there in his 9th year out of Penn State. You learn a lot of things under Joe Paterno, and one of them is how to block, and Suey's been doing that for a lot of Bears runners, particularly Walter Payton, for a lot of years. But he's a good receiver out of the backfield. And Brad Muster, the first-round draft pick out of Stanford, 190 receptions at Stanford. They do a lot of things.
From the 30, Harbaugh starts to stumble, but hands the ball off to Sanders. He takes it to the 25-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and about 5, and that should take us down to the 2-minute warning. 2:15 on the clock at the moment. So the Rams are on top, but tenuously, 6-0. And as we come upon the 2-minute warning, it'll be 2nd down and 6 for Chicago when we come back. And we'll return to Anaheim Stadium after this message from the National Football League. And a postscript to that, happy to announce today that the NFL Charities announced a $25,000 grant to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. No greater charity. From the Goodyear Blimp Columbia, a look down into Anaheim Stadium. At the 2-minute warning, 2 minutes to go in the first half. 2 Mike Lansford field goals. The only scoring thus far, 6-0, but Chicago on the move, 2nd and 6 at the Ram 26.
That's not far off from the view from the press box up here.
In fact, it may even be better.
It's about what we're looking at. This is one of the higher vantage points in the league here at Anaheim Stadium. A stadium, what, Al, built before baseball. They really didn't intend to play football here when this was designed and constructed.
In the mid-60s. In fact, the press box here is located in Santa Ana.
Some of the people of Los Angeles still haven't figured out that they're playing football here.
2nd and 6 from the 26. McKinnon in motion. Anderson hit hard as he crosses the 25, popped by Jim Collins, number 50, and it's going to set up a big 3rd and 3. And the clock running with 1:45 to play in the half.
Rookie tight end Thornton, number 80, brings the play in from the bench. Mike Ditka calling most of them along with Greg Landry over the sidelines.
They have to get just inside the 21-yard line. Ball at the 23, 3rd and a short 3. And over the middle, a first down as the catch is made by James Thornton, the rookie who played his college football right up the road at Cal State Fullerton, and he takes a timeout.
And a good look at how this man, Mike Ditka, always keeps his team in transition. Because see the guy standing right to his right? Emory Moorhead, the tight end that for the last dozen years has been there for the Chicago Bears. In that type of a pressure situation, he's the guy you would normally think would be called upon on a 3rd and short yardage catch in the, deep in the opponent's territory. But Mike Ditka has a plan. He rotates these guys around. He has all 3 of them taking their turns, and Thornton is the guy that is there. His number is called, and it really doesn't matter whether he's a rookie or not.
And a guy you don't hear much about is Bill Tobin, who is the vice president of the Bears in player personnel. And you hear so much about Mike Ditka, and he's done a wonderful job with them. But the reason Ditka can move these people around is that over the years, Bill Tobin is a man who has been out there. He replaced Jim Finks back in, 1983, I believe. And he has been the man who has acquired these players. You hear of all the great personnel people. Well, he has got to be right up there with the best of them.
1st and 10, Chicago at the 16-yard line. Moorhead in motion. Harbaugh throws on the run and incomplete. Everybody was covered and the flag is thrown.
And they're going to get him for intentional grounding.
They are.
Here's the deal. If you throw the football away with the intent of avoiding a sack, they're going to call intentional grounding, and Fred Silva trailing the play.
Illegal pass, intentionally grounding, number 4, 10 yards, still first down.
You can intentionally ground the ball, but not if it's to avoid a sack. And you see Doug Reed bearing down on Jim Harbaugh, and frankly, I think it was his throwing motion. Watch his throwing motion. He almost, you can see that he intentionally throws it into the ground.
See, number 87, that's Emory Moorhead. He had been knocked out of bounds by number 20, Johnny Jansen. The official threw a flag down, and all of a sudden, Harbaugh had no place to put it. And this is trouble here as Van Horn, for the 2nd week in a row, has to go out of the ball game. The big right tackle for the Bears.
And he was hurt earlier and was limping earlier, and Wojciechowski replaces him on 2nd down and 20 after the penalty. Harbaugh has it tipped away by the big hands of Gary Jeter in his 12th year. The former Trojan, and what a season he's had, especially early on. He had 5 sacks in 1 game against the Raiders.
Former number 1 draft pick of the Giants, big number 77.
Here's Gary Jeter. Watch here. Just watch him work to the outside. And like we've seen Too Tall Jones do a million times, if you're not close to the quarterback, leave the ground, get up in the air. And look at Jeter. Look at the hustle. Jumps over Jim Covert and has the athleticism and the desire to get up and block the pass. A lot of guys, I'm going to tell you, would have stayed on the ground and said, I did my job.
Shotgun 3rd and 20. They send Gentry in motion. They send 5 receivers into the pattern, but keep it on the ground, and Neil Anderson, as Hilgenberg snapped it to Anderson. That's a play that several teams have worked to perfection recently, including Houston, but not here for Chicago.
That's not easy for Jay Hilgenberg to do. That's a blind shotgun snap to throw it about 4 or 5 degrees off center right to Neil Anderson. It was a perfect strike.
They were watching Thanksgiving Day in the Houston-Dallas game. 39-yard attempt coming up for Butler. Brian Wagner, the punter, to hold. And the kick is good. So most expected a low-scoring struggle, and it's gone very much that way in the first half. 3 field goals accounting for all of the scoring. There is Mike Tomczak with the separated left non-throwing shoulder, and he thinks he can be back before the regular season is over, which would mean in 2 weeks against Minnesota.
He has that strap on it, but he has taken that strap off, and he's able to get the arm and way up over his head, and Mike Ditka is confident he will be back.
Meanwhile, if you haven't seen it, take a look at this. Maybe if you were out of the country, you'll get a kick, because this made a few highlight shows last night. Worth another look, though. Kansas City had scored at the end of the game yesterday, 1 play remaining, and the Jets trying to take a page out of Joe Kapp's book in the Cal Stanford game in 1982. Just run out of gas the way it turns out.
I like this. 12 different people touch the football by the time it's all finished, and the guys in the white shirts here, I seem to not be able to figure it out. You're supposed to be going the other way. They're taking also a page out of Jim Marshall's playbook, heading the wrong way.
Just the way they drew it up. Frank, we've done the Rugby League Championship at Wembley Stadium. This is what it looks like. Leeds against St. Helens.
That's Leeds.
And then finally the play ends there as the Jets step out of bounds. Here a bouncing kick is fielded by Robert Del Pino. And a good run back as Del Pino takes it to the 42. But now keep in mind, the Rams had to use 2 timeouts in the first quarter, and they're down to 17 seconds only anyway at the end of the first half here. John Robinson, the challenge ahead. A look at the playoff picture. The 2 featured subjects tonight at halftime.
Robinson is a very unusual man. Very optimistic. Speaks candidly. Anything you ask him, you get an answer from this man.
Well, maybe we should have asked him to explain the playoff picture.
We will. At the 42-yard line. Everett going deep for Anderson. No. Out of bounds. He made the catch, but he's out of bounds. Willie Flipper Anderson, the rookie from UCLA, and he's been a big play man for them, and Lemuel Stinson was covering.
He's been averaging 29 yards. The reception had Everett put this inside, this could have been 6 points.
Except Stinson's to the inside, and Everett really has to drop this down in there, and a good call by the official who's in perfect position, but Lemuel Stinson taking the inside away a little bit, and Willie Anderson, good concentration on the ball. He's got to go to the ball. There's no way he can figure out where the sidelines are on that kind of a pass.
Again, Stinson taking the spot of the bench Richardson. And going deep, and only Vesti Jackson is back there, and he intercepts it.
Oh, was he open?
You might say. That's the 7th pass that Jackson, quietly having a terrific year, his 7th interception of the season. He has really come into his own.
Frankly, Vesti Jackson right here, if you wanted to be nitpicky about it, probably should have brought it out of the end zone and tried to run it back for a touchdown. Granted, it's a 100-yard stroll,
but it's only 1 second remaining.
Yeah, it's a play that really is a no-lose, and
see how open
Frank called it. This guy is wide open. He almost should have fair caught it. Vesti Jackson, that's number 7 this year, and those are the kind a defensive back likes. Very little work involved in grabbing one of those.
So 1 play remaining from the 20-yard line, and it will be a touchdownless first half at Anaheim as the Bears run out the clock. 2 Lansford field goals, 1 Butler field goal, and that's it. A rapid first half at Anaheim, which ends with Los Angeles leading Chicago 6-3. We'll return to Anaheim Stadium after this message from the NFL, a word about an upcoming show on ABC, and a word from your local station. Coming up, a look at the challenge John Robinson faces, and a look at the playoff section. Back at Anaheim Stadium, 2 quarterbacks, Jim Everett and Jim Harbaugh, loosening up. Neither electrifying in the first half, dominated by the field goal kickers. All of the scoring has come from their toes. 2 by Lansford, 1 by Butler. 6-3 in favor of the Rams as we start the second half on a beautiful night. Temperature about 70 in Anaheim. Lansford kicks off to Chicago. Thomas Sanders takes it up at the 12. Tim Terrell brings him down at the 29-yard line. And so Chicago begins its first second-half drive from the 29 as this ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Miller Lite, official sponsor of the Miller Lite NFL Lineman of the Year Award, and by Mercedes-Benz, engineered like no other car in the world.
I think the reason scoring's down is as much as anything to the conservative nature of both the offenses. Jim Everett for the Rams, they don't want to get him pounded. They want him to get rid of the ball early, throw it away if he has to. And Harbaugh making his first stop. They haven't given him a whole lot of things to do. They just like to run and control it if they can.
From the 29, Harbaugh protected well, walks it over the middle to Thornton, who breaks the tackle, and another, and gets the first down.
Oh,
run out of bounds by Eckerd.
Got it, Dan. Look at the arms on that dude.
Well, yeah, let's ask Jerry Gray about James Thornton's arms. I think Jerry Gray is a corner that comes up and tries to put a pretty good shot on Thornton and is rejected. There's Jerry Gray, number 20. Let's see if we can get a shot of it here. Just a safe, conservative dump off underneath. Here's Gray, and look at that perfect form. He's got the hat right in the middle, the arms out, and he gets trampled for all his efforts.
He's getting well over that one he dropped in the second quarter.
12-yard gain, first down at the 41. The short drop and the quick pass, and a dangerous pass dropped by Gentry, incomplete. Coming up to cover was Irvin and Stewart. Second down.
Gentry, they like to get the ball to Gentry on little hits like this, a little slant in, a little slant out, because he can do so much with the ball after he catches it. A former running back that went outside and legitimate 3 years ago, and he can do so much after he gets his hands on the football.
Second down 10 at the 41-yard line. Going deep for Gentry. He's double covered, and it's incomplete. Irvin right there with him, and Johnny Johnson coming over to help out as well.
Well, those are the kind of mistakes I think that a quarterback without a great deal of game experience is going to make. Jim Harbaugh taking chances, making up his mind early, and throwing into the coverage that really I don't think Mike Ditka or the Chicago Bears wanted him to see. Leroy Irvin didn't.
Still in bounds. He looks like he's in.
Remember, it's got to be conclusive.
To me, that's very conclusive. He's not out of bounds yet.
He hit it before he goes in.
Looks good. I mean, from that angle, certainly it does. Let's see if we can get another look at it. Good. Here's another shot.
Not out yet. It's the pylon. That's a touchdown.
I think you got to put 6. I think you got to put 6 on the board there. I mean, the ball's at the 1-foot line.
Royal Cathcart examining the tape.
No matter what they rule on it, 2 conservative plays. The Rams very patient. They get 2 big gainers out of it. Eller turns a 2-yard hitch into a big gainer. Simple off tackle to the right, good blocking, and they may get 6 out of that one.
12:33 remaining in the game.
Now they're not going to come back and try to say, are they, that his body was inside the pylon, but the football was outside.
No,
I wouldn't want to see him try to make that call.
I think the football was in his left hand, wasn't it? No, it's in the right hand. Okay.
Place then is called first down.
Well, that's an interesting. I mean, there's no question that his body is inside, but the football's outside. Now, we're going to have to delve into the rule book there. What has to break the plane of the end zone, the ball or the body? Now, if the body swings outside, remember the touchdown run by Neil Anderson against the Packers, how he dove into the end zone and got the ball inside the pylon.
Meanwhile, the Bears, as you saw, have not allowed a rushing touchdown in the equivalent of 10.5 games. And they're saying they could not conclusively tell where the ball was. It's the ball that has to cross the plane.
That's what they're saying, yeah.
Here's Bell, and he still doesn't have it. No gain.
And I can't disagree with their assessment because there's no way you can tell where the ball was. The body, the right leg, got inside, but the ball, in the estimation of the official, went out of bounds before it crossed the goal line.
Right.
That's a good call by the official.
Right.
See, the ball is way out there in the right hand. You see it swung clear out to the right side.
And it's not conclusive. You're right. And you need conclusive evidence to reverse it.
No way.
So it is.
Reverse it. He had the ball behind him, and you cannot. No way you could tell exactly where it was.
Second and goal. Bell again dives for the touchdown.
So the third rushing touchdown against these Bears in what, 9 weeks, now 10 weeks?
It's the first since late September. And he has regained, has Greg Bell, the NFL lead from Ickey Woods with his 16th touchdown of the year, 14 on the ground, 2 through the air. And the Rams, 2 big plays to get them down inside the 1. Punch it over Lansford to try to tack on the 20th point. If the Bears lose this one, since late 1984, they will have been 45-5 on Sundays and 5-5 on Mondays. It's Monday night, and it's 20-3 Los Angeles. With a victory, and the Bears self-destructing offensively tonight. First half, fumble, punt, interception, punt, field goal. Second half, 4 punts. And they'll get the ball, but they're down by 17, and the time remaining is 11:51. Lansford's kick taken by Gentry at the 10-yard line. And Dennis plunging forward out to the 32 for a 22-yard run back. First and 10 Chicago at the 32-yard line. Coming up, Jerry Tarkanian and the Nevada Las Vegas Rebels taking on the Arizona Wildcats. College basketball Saturday at 4 Eastern and 1 Pacific time. And then a week from tonight we'll be at Joe Robbie Stadium, where the Cleveland Browns, very much in the hunt in the AFC Central, take on the Miami Dolphins to conclude week 15. 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. Harbaugh on first down, pressured, hits Muster. He gets it to the 31-yard line, and that's a loss of 1. Jim Collins, the linebacker, makes the tackle.
Not a very pretty screen pass. It was easy to read all the way. The lineman pulling out got tied up, and it was Harbaugh looking to muster all the way.
Well, really, it's tough to blame Harbaugh for that, Frank, and you're right. There was a messed-up play from the beginning, but really Keith Van Horn, the right tackle, just whiffed, and that's why that thing disintegrated in such a hurry. Pressure up the middle, and you got to stab and stop those guys at the line of scrimmage if you're going to run a good screen.
Second and 11. Harbaugh, it's dropped at the 46, and it's a fumble out of the grasp of Wendell Davis.
Oh, I don't think he ever had control of the ball, did he?
Well, they have indicated that he has.
And we're going to be looking at another one, I'm pretty sure.
Michael Stewart has the football, the Rams safety.
Looks like Gray might have just knocked it out of.
This is close as to whether or not Davis is going to have control. Boy, that's a tough one to call right there.
And he's got to get both feet down and control it. And apparently they're going to bring it back and call it incomplete.
I think that's a good call. He doesn't control this football. It never gets it off his shoulder pad up there. It stays on his left shoulder pad, and no, he didn't have control of that ball. And they're not going to waste any time looking at this one either.
That's fine with us.
Yeah, that's great. Third and 11 at the 31. .10:44 to go. Rams ahead by 17. On third and 11, too high for Morris and incomplete. Fourth down. Through it all, you saw Mike Ditka on the sideline, and of course ever since the heart attack, Mike, who came back very, very quickly, has been told, and he acknowledges that he has to remain calm. No more cigars, he says, no more tantrums.
Mentally tough. When Mike makes up his mind to do something, you know it's going to be done. That way as a player, that way as a coach, and he's made up his mind that he's going to make the most of it. He's very fortunate, he knows it.
Yeah, but all that's a lot easier if his club's winning.
Yep. Wagner's kick fielded by Hicks at the 20. And Hicks brings it back out. Where are you going? To the 34-yard line. Gifford with a 14-yard run back, tackled by Caposo with 10:28 to go. LA ahead 20-3.
You notice that some of the figures in that little flashback, Willie Gault, Walter Payton, and Jim McMahon, none of whom are performing for the Bears offense tonight, and it's reflected in the scoreboard, on the scoreboard rather, by a 3-point total.
And they're down 20-3, and this is Bell. And he would have had a lot more had he not stumbled. He picks up 6 to the 39. This is exactly what the Rams love. Have a big lead, and no team knows how to run out the clock better than the Rams. Remember that game last year in St. Louis against the Cardinals when I believe the Rams had the ball for something like the last 12 minutes of the game and set up a Lansford field goal to win it?
And kept it on the ground virtually the entire time. You're right. It's something that John Robinson is not adverse to at all.
They've run the ball well tonight against what, coming into tonight's game, was #1 defense in the league against the run. Overall, it would be Minnesota defensively was #1, but the Bears have been the toughest against the run all year long.
And the toughest in allowing other teams to score.
Bell goes nowhere on 2nd and 4. He runs into the law firm of Hampton and Morrissey. For the Rams now to win the NFC West title, not only can they be a wild card possibly, but they could also win the title. How would they do it? They'd have to win tonight's game, next week against Atlanta, then beat the 49ers. They'd have to win the remaining 3, and then the Falcons would have to beat the Saints on the final Sunday.
And that 49er game is in San Francisco.
And that's not that improbable right now, because that 3 can be turned to 2 very shortly. The Rams, with a victory tonight against Atlanta next week, they'll be favored here, and then they go up to Candlestick. San Francisco plays New Orleans in San Francisco on Sunday, and Charles White picks up the first down as he takes it out to the 45-yard line on the 3rd and 3, stopped by Singletary.
Yeah, if you talked about what would have to happen there with Atlanta beating New Orleans, you know, that's possible the way they've been playing. And boy, what about this guy? I mean, if only he could maintain his concentration and stay in the game. And I talked at the top of the telecast about this guy might be the MVP in the National Conference this year. Granted, a lot of great players, but you're going to have to go someplace to find a guy who's meant more to his team than Mike Singletary has meant to the Chicago Bears, rather. This guy is the Chicago Bears.
Right now he is at the 44-yard line. Everett lost it to Holohan. First down and 20 more as he takes it to the 35 of Chicago. The demonstrative Holohan comes over from San Diego, played there in Ernie Zampese's offense, and he's been a key man for the Rams this season. He's their 2nd leading receiver behind Ellard.
All conservative stuff, but now it's getting out of control for the Bears.
Here's some food for thought, guys. Kick this around. These two teams are quite capable of playing each other again in the playoffs. It's a possibility. I think both of these teams have it. Well, obviously the Bears are going to be there. The Rams have a good shot. We could see these guys again.
At the 36-yard line, Bell to the 29. One thing is mathematically certain. If they do face each other in the playoffs, it would have to be in Chicago. The Rams could not mathematically gain any sort of home field advantage in that head-to-head.
And of course, I guess we could have a conversation as to whether the weather in Chicago would be any sort of an advantage to the Bears.
We could.
But then again, the Chamber of Commerce in Chicago might get upset about it.
Well, you know, all of those northeastern cities in the playoffs, January, it's going to be difficult. Remember the Cincinnati-San Diego game a few years ago? What was it, 1982? 15 below 0.
And it's a home field advantage, and what's wrong with that?
2nd and 3. This is Bell. And he's tackled just short of the first down by Vesti Jackson. Well, right now, let's see. You've got Chicago in the playoffs, and you've got Cincinnati in the playoffs, and Buffalo in the playoffs.
Buffalo in the playoffs.
So we're looking for a palm tree city right now.
Well, the players might be, but
the Giants are looking
frankly, playoff football looks a little better when the players are down in their stances and you can see their breath. I mean, that's to me what playoff football is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, give me a break.
I am a man without pride.
Get your clicker out.
Yep, the Hodge in the trenches.
All right, that's it.
3rd and 1. A lot of mud and slop. Here comes Bell to the 25, and that's a first down, and they just keep taking time off the clock, which is down to 5:45. Dewerson and Singletary in on the tackle.
You know, a guy that's enjoying this game tonight stuck his head in our booth about 5 minutes ago, and that's the fact that the Rams have only allowed the Bears to have 3 points, but Merlin Olsen stuck his head. He's in the booth next door watching his beloved Rams winning a football game tonight, and he said, this is my kind of game, a defensive lineman's dream.
But he's glad he's not televising it.
This has been a Rams defensive lineman's dream.
I think he'd take this. Merlin, of course, the talented analyst for NBC.
First down from the 25. Charlie White picks up 4.
Notice how White covers that ball, and they're talking about it in the huddle. Bears are going to be trying to strip it. They know that. Charlie White runs about as tough as anyone you're going to find that weighs about 195 pounds.
Tell you what the big question is now, and that's the health of Jim McMahon. Is this guy going to be able to come back and play next week? Because the long-range question is, you know, here are the Chicago Bears coasting along without a quarterback. If it's got to be Jim Harbaugh with his inexperience, can you really expect them to handle a team like the Vikings the last week of the season?
And there is McMahon.
Much less win next week.
2nd and 6. Bell burrows to the 18. A beautifully conceived drive here, and as much as the Rams are using up the clock, they've used up about 7 minutes, keeping it on the ground. And what they're doing is they're snapping it just prior to the expiration of the 45-second clock.
There's Otis Wilson to the left of Jim McMahon. And a lot of talent for the Bears, not out on the field. William Perry nursing a broken forearm. Richard Dent, who broke a bone in his leg last week in their win. I
think a key one, Sean Gale, too.
Sean Gale?
Even though they got a good performance tonight out of Maurice Douglas.
Frank, you and I were at that game down in Dallas when they lost Otis Wilson during the preseason.
3rd down and 3 as Everett throws. Holohan has the first down and takes it to the 9-yard line. And the Rams have taken the clock from 10.5 minutes down to 3.5 minutes, and they have a 1st and goal.
Holohan has added another dimension to the Rams offense. The tight end that performed so many years with Dan Fouts and for Ernie Zampese, the Rams offensive coordinator. Now, when he was with the San Diego Chargers, one of the fine receivers, and he could have got more yardage out of that, but he stayed in bounds to keep that clock moving.
I think a pretty good indication of what the Bears think about this game.
Yeah.
Dave Dewerson, Mike Singletary over on the bench, giving the kids a little work here with 2:57 and running here left in the game.
1st and goal from the 9. On the ground, Buford McGee takes it to the 6-yard line. It'll be 2nd and goal. Dante Jones comes in to make the tackle.
Hard to equate the Ram team we're watching now to the team, and I know we all looked at the films of last week against Denver when they were just blown away by Denver. Before that, they had lost to San Diego, 38-24 big. Before that, they lost to New Orleans. They lost to Philadelphia. They came in tonight on a 4-game losing streak, and they have handled the Chicago Bears in just about every phase of the game.
Meanwhile, the Rams will take it right down to the 2-minute warning. They'll have to snap it once before the 2-minute warning. 2nd and goal. This drive started at their own 33. And on this drive, as they give it to Bell, and Bell gets tackled at the 5, they have had the ball for 8.5 minutes as we have come to almost the 2-minute warning. What the Bears have done here is take a... No, they haven't. They couldn't take a timeout before the 2-minute warning as the clock ticks down to exactly 2, sort of.
Almost.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, whatever.
Halfway. We'll be back, I think.
Maybe. In it. That's been the case tonight. Excellent game by the Rams.
3rd and goal from the 5-yard line. L.A. on top by 17. And Everett under pressure, stepping up. Incomplete. He intended it for Buford McGee, but he was covered. 92 Bears. And, well, we saw Singletary and Dewerson on the bench for Chicago, and that meant that they were done for the night. And so are we when Billy Edwards exits the stadium.
The legendary William Edwards.
I like Billy. He's a man of his word. It was last week. He said, I'm never leaving again before the last play of the game. It's nice to know Billy can be trusted.
Our commercial coordinator.
Featured next week in Sports Illustrated. They have a little story on Billy coming up.
That's what I hear.
If he isn't, you've just guaranteed it. Lansford to attempt the field goal with Holohan holding. And the kick is good. A 22-yard field goal. And it's 23-3. Rams on their way to snapping their 4-game losing streak. And they'll have a mark of 8-6. Well, the executive producer of Monday Night Football, Jeffrey Mason. Tonight's game produced by the Wolfman, Ken Wolf, and directed by Craig Janoff. Our technical director, Joe Chavo. Ben Harvey is our associate director, among other things. Rob Miner, our associate director. And Emily Deutsch, our halftime associate producer. Gary Ricketts, Al Danforth, Al Schmidt. Assistants to the producer, Bruce Clark and Joe Castellano. Research and information from Mr. Univac himself, the unparalleled Steve Hurd, our computer statistician, Mark Amento. Statistician up in the booth is George Hill. And home sweet home for our spotter, Malibu Kelly Hayes.
Steve Hurt. He gets busy this time of the year. He smokes through those playoff options.
Looks like we might have time for me to say that this telecast is presented by the authority of the National Football League. It is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or any other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the National Football League is strictly prohibited.
You got a problem with that?
Nope. Nope. I want to know how come I'm the only guy in all of broadcasting that has to read this thing. I want to...
Junior member. Short kicking. 19-yard line. Thomas Sanders. And he's tackled at the 24. Well, the key now, believe it or not, because of this Bear loss, is that Minnesota, if they win next week against Green Bay, and they'll be heavily favored to do so, can win the division by beating Chicago. So Minnesota now controls its own destiny, as do all of the other teams in the red.
And New Orleans could speak to you about that destiny.
Of course, we've been talking about their winning next week might be a foregone conclusion. That game is going to be at Green Bay. And as we all know, the Packers are capable in weather conditions they might see. And under Lindy and Fonte, they're capable of beating the Vikings.
Another one of those northern cities.
Here's Anderson taking an inside handoff out of the shotgun to the 37-yard line. Earlier this season, it was Minnesota beating Chicago at Soldier Field, 34-14. No, that was Packers beat the Vikings, what we're talking about. Packers won 34-14 over Minnesota. And the Bears lost to Minnesota 31-7 at Soldier Field, week 3. Muster.
How about Big Brad? That's some pretty fancy stepping there. Another one of the versatile young rookies around. Bears go for these type of players. Good receiver at Stanford. Had a great record there of over 190 receptions during his career. Greg Landry on the right, Mike Ditka on the left.
Chicago takes a timeout.
Well, it's funny how a game like this is received in different places. Jubilation for sure up in Minneapolis and the Twin Cities tonight because of the Bear loss. I think Southern California extremely pleased that the Rams have finally shaken that dark cloud that's been following them around, followed them all through the month of November as they lost all 4 games in that month. And now it shifts to Chicago, where the question that's going to be asked all week long is, how is the health of Jim McMahon? Is he going to be able to play next week? Now, that's the game that all along they've targeted as the return of Jim McMahon. So it's not exactly like they're trying to pull a rabbit out of a hat and get him back early. That's what they're looking for. But, hey, face it, it's all right now dependent for the Bears on how this guy is.
He tried to work this past week, but it did hurt. They decided that make him inactive, that would get rid of all the temptations to put him in there.
First down play is incomplete. Broken up by Gray, intended for McKinnon. It'll be second down and 10.
Tough night for this youngster, Jim Harbaugh. That, of course, was Gray, but Harbaugh, the #1 draft pick of a year ago, making his first start tonight. It's been a tough one.
Well, Kevin Green, that's a great inside move again on Keith Van Horn, and there have been some problems from the right side tonight, and this guy here, Kevin Green, he can get after the quarterback. This guy has been in quarterbacks' faces all year long, had 12 sacks coming into tonight's game. When you see the skill level he shows out here, it's no wonder why.
Second and 10.
There he goes again.
And Harbaugh, and it's McKinnon making the catch at the 21-yard line. And that'll look good on the stat sheet if nothing else.
And I have to think that Keith Van Horn is hurt. When I watch how he's trying to block Kevin Green, I get the impression that here's a guy that's really sucking it up and trying to play. But good concentration on the football here by Dennis McKinnon.
And Chicago takes another timeout.
Here we go. There's Van Horn, and he tackles him, tries to drag him down. And if you've seen Keith Van Horn play, you certainly get the impression, and when you watch him walk, it looks to me like he's limping noticeably, Frank.
Well, he went out of last week's game against Green Bay with a very sore knee. He's had a troubled shoulder, and he's one of the better offensive tackles around. And even though Kevin Green is also a good pass rusher, he only goes about 230, 235 pounds, and ordinarily you would suspect, particularly on that pass rush, when it was just a straight bull pushing type of move by Green, you'd think Van Horn would have the best of it.
Well, he's matter of fact, he left the game in the second quarter. He got kicked in the shin and had to go out for a brief period of time. Wojciechowski came in and took his place. But as you get down to the last couple weeks of the season like this, as you well know, Frank, it's tough to get well. It's tough to get better. Your body is sore and tired and doesn't heal very quick.
Well, it started in July, a long time ago.
First and 10 from the 21-yard line. Harbaugh takes it down to the 13 with 30 seconds remaining in the game.
Kevin, we've got Green really complaining about being wrapped up. I agree with the officials, though. This is the point in time where they let him play. I don't think they'll let that go.
No, I can't. They have to throw the flag. And the pass is picked off. Picked off by Johnny Johnson in the end zone.
The illegal procedure was by the Bears, so the Rams should get possession of the ball.
And Fred Silva will make it official.
Illegal motion, number 85. Decline. We have a touchback. First down.
And an interception for Johnny Johnson.
That's the difference between a wide receiver and a lineman. If that's a lineman that moves early like that, it's a false start and the play never took place. A wide receiver, it's a motion penalty. The play stands if it goes against you, and a good illustration of it there.
So one more snap. And the Bears head back home, arrive back in Chicago in the wee hours of the morning. Prepare for Detroit at Soldier Field next Sunday. And then it's on to the Metrodome.
They better not look ahead, Detroit. They won 2 of their last 3. 4 and 10. And unless Jim McMahon is out there and things change dramatically, you don't get the feeling that this is one of your more explosive outfits around.
Rams stay home, meet Atlanta next week, close at San Francisco. Everett kneels down, and that'll do it. And the Rams win a game they had to win. Snap a 4-game losing streak, knocked off Chicago 20-3. And as we mentioned, the Bears, since '84 now, 45-5 on Sunday, 5-5 on Monday night. And in the history of this package, the Chicago Bears on the road on Monday Night Football are 2-12. A wink from McMahon, and again, that'll be the speculation this week in Chicago. Will he or won't he play? And the smiling countenance of Jim Everett.
You got the feeling talking to him last night, he knew this was coming, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was confident, cocky, and this guy's having a good time playing ball in Southern California.
He's going to be around a while.
Celebrate tonight. Rams win it by a score of 23-3.